Danger Street issue 8 is next. Tom King writing with Jorge Fornes on the art. And, you know, I mean, there's barely don't need to introduce anything really here at this point. Just that we keep going. We keep going with the next parts. Last issue set up that it seemed like the Dingbats were in cahoots to try and break Starman, or try and break Warlord, sorry, out of prison. Well, I say prison. The jail cell at the police station.
The jail cell at the police station, yeah, because they have Starman, right?
Yeah. Lady Cop tried to see the Commodore, but was basically shooed away, but did run into Jack Ryder, which obviously that advances here. And was it Abdul is the other remaining Dream Team member who set a trap with the Outsiders for Manhunter, and that is also continued here. So a lot of things going. Lady Cop goes to dinner with Jack Ryder. She repeatedly says it's not a date. I think he's hoping it is.
He's hoping it is. This is not a date. This is a professional type thing. And then he proceeds to get completely sloshed, which I thought was hilarious.
Well, he tries to resist at first, but then she kind of talks him into it. Well, and I think that's intentional to make him talk. I think she's playing the game a little bit. But the Dingbats trick the cop Cooper by
poor Cooper.
Yeah. Starman makes a hole in one jail cell and gets one of the kids out, and then the cop runs to that cell on the other side of the building. If I remember correctly, there was a thing last issue where one of the kids had a reason to have to go near somewhere to make sure they were in a different part of the building. They said they had to be near something. I think that was something. But anyway, and then when the cop runs to that cell, Starman breaks a hole in the wall in the other cell, and they're all gone. And this is all just hilarious because then this cop Cooper just starts yelling, "Effing dingbats!" It's perfect.
And just the reveal of the holes in the side of the jails.
Yes.
Too is very good. But yeah, and them constantly talking about Cooper, like, "Hey Cooper, it's not your fault, man. You're just doing your job." As he's running back and forth, and there's just so much condescension from these kids. I fully, not that I didn't already love the Dingbats, but this sequence in general really made me enjoy them.
Yeah, they're up to mischief. They've got a plan, and they've got more of a purpose now, which just makes it even more entertaining to watch. So then we go to Abdul, and him and the Outsiders have got Manhunter tied up, and they're telling him a story, and it turns out this is the origin effectively of what the Green Team and the Outsiders are. And he's talking about how they all went to school together, and there was these cracks in the playground, and they'd play a game where they'd have to only walk on the cracks, but only the cracks that had some weeds or grass kind of coming up through, just silly kid shit. But basically, whoever was able to pull it off that day, the winners would be referred to as the Green Team, and the losers would be the Outsiders. And it was all very innocent until a mysterious man showed up. And basically, when he found out about this game, how about today we make the game mean something? How about the winners will get something, and the losers will get a forfeit? They'll get a... So... it's very much the devil shows up and offers a deal, but obviously these kids maybe didn't realize that that's what was happening. So that's set up here in this first early scene with them, as they're listening to the story, and then we also see the Commodore having trouble with his juice box. So poor codename Assassin, his next mission, should he choose to accept it, is to get the straw into the juice box.
Props to the art here, because I was getting frustrated on behalf of it, watching him constantly miss the juice box, and then Codename Assassin finally just going give it, and he does it. Pitch perfect storytelling here.
It's very layered because you've got the comedy of the pacing of the panels with Manhunt, or not Manhunter, sorry, Codename Assassin trying to do this, but then you've also got the point of this scene, which is how little the Commodore is taking anything seriously. He's like, "Hey, you're gonna go kill that Manhunter before he comes gets me, right?" He's like, "Better not mess up." It's all very kind of nonchalant, but Codename Assassin looks at the diamond arm on his desk, this arm made of diamonds, and he's like, "Hey, I need to borrow this for the fight." And he's like, "I sold my soul for that thing." He's like, "Yeah, but if you die, then you die." So so sure enough, he gives him the diamond arm, and we'll see what he does with that a little bit later. then we go back to Warlord and Starman gets woozy and falls, and Warlord's like, what's wrong with him? And it turns out he's been like this, and the kid said Starman didn't want us to tell you what's going on with him. So they put him in a little like trailer behind a little quad that they've got, and they're on their way to try and deal with whatever they're dealing with. There's a funny little exchange here where they're saying, "Hey, get in the trailer, old man," and he just sort of stops and breathes and goes, "I was the king of Scataris, and now I'm listening to these little shits." But he's into red grapes though, so it's not all bad news.
Okay, he goes, and I forget the grape kid. I forget which one of the dingbats he is, but he's like, "I got some grapes." He's like, "Which ones?" He goes, "Red. I don't like the purple because they're too squishy." And Warlord just gives him this look like, "All right, you have a deal."
Yeah, red's
I'm in
good.
for red grapes. Yeah.
Red's good. Red's
really good.
perfect. And then we're back to Lady Cop and Jack Ryder. He starts drinking and he starts talking a little bit. He mentions the diamond arm in a later scene. But the big thing with her is she talks about how she's the survivor of a mass murder. Not a mass shooting, because it's not a gun, it's just a knife. Right. But basically when she was in college, like the dorm rooms were broken into and everyone she knew there was killed, and she was hiding under the bed. And part of the reason why she doesn't really believe in asking Superman for help is because she whispered for Superman's help when hiding from this murderer. And he never came. God. Yeah,
that scene is very harrowing. Like just how it pushes in on her face, how she's telling the story. Oh man, it was real heavy. And
it's her face under the bed in the flashback that's pushing in on, not her telling the story at the dinner table. It's really, really well done. And you're like, this would make you lose faith in Superman if he didn't show up to help you. And obviously, Ryder's like, he was probably fighting Darkseid on Apocalypse or something. He was busy doing, end of the world stuff. And that makes complete sense, but that doesn't mean anything to her. She's like, I was scared. I was
scared, but it also made her who she is, and that she doesn't ask for help. It's made her self-sufficient. Yeah,
also I love that she says, I used to love Superman. I wanted to be Superman. I mean, not Superman, but like Lady Superman. I love that she phrased it that way, like Lady Cop. That was such a nice little touch in the writing.
Yep.
Good stuff. So she shows. This is how she convinces him to drink. Is this basically this dark story is what makes him like start taking swigs of booze.
He's like, so I wasn't gonna drink, but give me some of that now.
You've depressed me and made it awkward. So I'm going to do this. And then we go back to the story about the Green Team and the Outsiders and how this team formed. And we get this great 2-page spread of all the cracks on the playground. And it almost looks like it's making the shape of a person, like almost. Just enough. And it's the girl who's doing it. She's the last one, and we get this great panel of her like losing her balance and like falling to the ground. And this mysterious figure.
I was gonna say earlier in the story too, Abdul had mentioned that she's usually on the Green Team, but for whatever reason that day, it wasn't her best day, and she ended up an outsider.
To use a very specific word, fate meant on that day she fell. And why I'm saying that is because this mysterious figure who's kept in like silhouette the entire time so we can't see him, pulls out what looks like a Dr. Fate helmet from his bag and says, okay, it's, you all did very well. And they're yelling, all the kids are yelling at each other, and then like the Commodore, or the kid who would become the Commodore, says, all right, give us like our spoils, what do we get? And that's the last we see of it, but we can only assume that the Green Team get the riches and whatever else, and the Outsiders get turned into all these monsters, and that seems to be the origin. And maybe there'll be more to it later when we get more details, but that seems to be what it's implying here.
And I want to, what's up with the Helm of Naboo? Who would do this, right? Like it's just one of those, there's a mystery on a mystery. Because you would think that the Helm of Naboo would be locked down by the Justice Society, right? So, and we also haven't seen Metamorpho in a minute, right? So I wonder if this has ties to his, what's that guy's name? It's Metamorpho's girlfriend's dad.
Oh, Stag.
Stag. There we go. So I wonder if this has ties to Stag because of what this represents in the bigger scheme, because that Tom King likes to do that type of stuff.
I don't know.
He he looks at this and like, you know, sometimes riches and fortune and stuff just comes down to chance and fate and being at the right place at the right time, despite how good you are, right? Like, and it really splits people into the haves and the have-nots. And he really drives his point home by making that the outsiders, you know, they become these creatures.
Yeah, and it's nothing important decides this. It's this meaningless child's game that someone just decides has the stakes of your entire future on it.
Right. It's like, to me, it's like, who's the type of person that would orchestrate this, you know, that's this cruel? And it also kind of ties to New Genesis, right? Because that's kind of what happened.
Yeah. It's
in New Genesis and with High Father and
but also what ties it to, not only have you got these two sides of Apocalypse and New Genesis and the two sides, and that's the, you know, the green team and the outsiders. But that girl is usually on the green team, and by the sounds of it, Abdul was kind of seen as more of an outsider, and they just on this day he happened to make it and she didn't, and all of a sudden it's a lot like, you know,
Mr. Miracle and Orion.
Yeah, just a lot like them. Who haven't really, I mean, obviously Orion's been here, but Mr. Miracle's not really come up in this book. But I can't help but notice that comparison as well as we're talking about this. I think that's super fascinating. That comparison to make that. So yeah, no, if this is an exploration of just like how someone goes down two different paths, and how someone's manipulated it here is quite interesting. And then you've also got the fact that this person uses the Fate helmet of doing this, and this story started with characters trying to use the Fate helmet to do something. So that also ties in. It's fascinating how much of this is sort of like starting to all feel like it's connected now that we're getting deep into it, and it's all
almost like
together.
It's the next, not the next. What was the word I'm looking for? It's the new cycle of it going through now, right? So the Helm of Fate, you know, originally created the Green Team and the Outsiders, and now it's almost like it's causing a split now in the different factions of superheroes, like with the Dingbats, right? Because they lost one of their own. And how it transformed them just by being at the wrong place at the wrong time, right? Because of Warlord and Starman and Metamorpho trying to join the Justice League by summoning Darkseid, you know? So,
I think it's also doing a thing here where obviously a lot of this issue is building up to the fact that we're going to have the two knights fight, and the two knights being Codename Assassin and Manhunter. And you sort of get the idea that, okay, Codename Assassin goes and turns the diamond arm into a sword made of diamond, and that's going to be his weapon. And you also get the impression that Abdul and the Outsiders are basically enlisting Manhunter to go after Commodore, that he's the worst one. They're kind of saying, hey, I was really supposed to be with the Outsiders. I kind of lost my place and ended up with the wrong side. But here's a Warlord sword that we've got. You go and fight, and sure enough, they get a phone call, and it's like they basically set up a duel. Like, they're going to have a duel between the two knights, probably in the next issue. So that's super exciting. All this build up to it, and effectively you've got one representing the Commodore, and now Manhunter's in an inadvertent way ended up representing maybe Abdul, and we'll see how that goes. Well,
and it's Abdul being the opportunist. He's just writing whatever is best for him, you know.
And if we're continuing this theme of the two sides thing, having a character like Creeper, who's literally like a Jekyll and Hyde style character, doesn't seem like an accident either to me. You know, you've got like the you know the businessman, not the businessman, but
the reporter. He's let me
put it this way: he's the capitalist. He's the one who's trying to be successful, and then you've got just the Creeper, the monster side. Kind of thing. So he in and of himself kind of represents the sides of the Green Team and the Outsiders. He's literally both.
Well, and that's why he's an ogre, right? That's why he's been classified that by the Helm of Fate that's telling the story.
I feel like there's a lot of parallels that are starting to like sort of become easier to see now that we're seeing more of the stories explained.
It's definitely the theme throughout is definitely of duality. And what that means, and
because we've had like Codename Assassin and Manhunter be like the two sides of the same coin for a while, but I feel like, and even at the start of the book we said, hey, it's not a coincidence we've got this team of 4 dingbats and this green team of 4 kids.
Right.
So that idea of having the two equal sides has been a thing since issue. Even if the sides that we're looking at have changed a bit since then, that theme's been there the entire time.
Yep. Well, there's out of all of them too is like Manhunter's claimed 2 of the Green Team, right? So I wonder if this leads to a transformed Green Team at the end, right? Like they can start from scratch and maybe that's also part of it.
Well, it depends what the lesson. I mean, if we get the happy ending to this, then presumably the characters realize we don't need to have a Green Team because that's holding down someone else. But I don't know. I don't know if this is building to a happy ending or if it's building to like a more bitter life lesson that that there's always going to be some form of this existing. It could go that route as well. I don't know. So it's all very fascinating. Though it ends in a really good cliffhanger. Creeper, by the way, like he turns into Creeper in front of Lady Cop, who just knocks him out and leaves him in the street. That's what happens with that.
Yep.
So that's a very interesting thing. And remember, Lady Cop has this helmet. She has the Fate helmet, and we'll see where that goes. But it sounds like Warlord, Starman, and the kids want the helmet back to try and bring back their friend. That's why the kids are helping them, and that's what I theorized last issue as well. Is that's what they were working to do. But Lady Cop's got that helmet, so we'll see how that goes. But no, this was a very exciting issue because it feels like a lot of these things are coming together, and the themes which we've been kind of picking at the entire time are more like coming into view as more of these like story threads are really starting to click together. It's been a really fun read. It reminds me a lot of Doomsday Clock and just sort of like, okay, we've got all these plots going on, how do they all connect? And then the discovery as we go of seeing them all start to thematically merge, either in plot or just thematically, is really exciting to me. When it's well written like it is, and obviously the art and the sequencing is fantastic as always. All that playground stuff with the cracks look great. That two-page
I was to say Fornes being able to shift like the just a tone, right? So that's just a childhood game, right? But when he starts drawing it, when you know the stakes are there, there's a ominousness. It feels shadow.
It feels like this girl is like jumping on these lines for her life, and it turns out she is. But
it's just again duality.
And that story of the like Lady Cop's past, like that was it's just one page of just her face under the bed. Also, it says that the perpetrator like dropped a playing card, and I thought it was going to be a Joker. I was thinking, is this like a Joker thing? But it's not. And we see the person's boot. They've got like a skull and crossbones on like a white and yellow boot, and they dropped an ace card. I'm not sure who this is meant to be from. Any like quick thought? I was going to look this up actually before we started and I forgot.
So this was the origin that I had read about Lady Cop, is that she was the sole survivor of like a slasher.
I remember you telling me that, but like these clues to who the slasher himself is quite specific.
But originally, I believe they bring him to justice after she becomes a cop. I believe that it was someone, but it wouldn't surprise me if Tom King adds a different layer on there, that it's meant to be Joker-esque, but not Joker. I don't think it's Joker.
The clues that are there do not say Joker, but it was just...
No, but what I'm saying, it is Joker-esque. He's using the language that we associate with Joker, right? The playing card,
it was just the playing card that made me think it was about to be a Joker. But when I look at his boot, I'm like, it was never going to be Joker, because that's not a Joker shoe. I don't know what that is.
It's just known as the Killer in Boots. So he never left an ace of spades. The Lady Cop, Liza Warner, a young woman who watches beneath the bed as a murderer in cowboy boots slaughters her two roommates, leaving the ace of spades behind as his calling card.
I am very curious if this comes up in some way later. I'm also very curious if it relates to the origin of the Green Team and the kids, because we never see that guy's face either to start with. But I do think it's thematically very interesting that we get both the origin of Lady Cop, like her traumatic past, and the incident that created all these kids in the same issue. I think that's smart writing to put them both in the same issue, because it feels like we're getting backstories for a lot of characters together. So that's very good. As per usual, it was excellent. Matt, what you rating it?
I mean, this I didn't rate the last one, so I don't remember what I would have given that one, but I'll give this a 9. Solid 9.
Yeah, this is a solid 9 out of 10. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Cannot wait. It's the event of every month. It's the 12-issue Tom King book.
Yes, sir.